If your job keeps growing but you stay the same, something's off, and deep down you know it. Most people spend years working harder at their job than they ever do on themselves. They give all their time, all their energy, all their focus, and when the day ends, they feel empty. Not because they didn't work hard, but because they didn't grow. You wake up, answer emails, hit deadlines, please others, and somewhere in that loop, you start fading. This isn't about quitting your job. It's about not quitting yourself. You deserve to feel progress in your life, not just in your paycheck, but in your confidence, your peace, your habits, and your mindset. This chapter will help you shift the focus back where it belongs on you. Because the truth is simple. If you stop growing, nothing else you're chasing will ever feel enough. Chapter 1. Choose growth when fear tells you stop. Fear has a way of making good people stop. It makes talented people doubt their worth. It convinces the dreamers that what they want is too far out of reach. You know that voice, the one that says, "What if you fail? What if people laugh? What if you lose what you already have?" That voice is fear. And every single time you give in to it, you trade your potential for safety. You give up your future for a little comfort in the moment. Growth never happens in safety. Growth happens when you feel uncomfortable, unsure, and nervous, yet you take another step anyway. It happens when you choose to keep going, even when fear whispers, "Stop." Most people don't realize that fear isn't a stop sign, it's a signal. It's your mind telling you that you're stepping into something new. And that's exactly where life changes, in the new, the unknown, the uncomfortable. Fear is not your enemy. It's a natural part of being human. The problem is when you start obeying it. Fear can make you believe that staying the same is the best option. It tells you to stick with what you know, the same job, the same routine, the same comfort zone, because at least there you won't get hurt. But that's not living. That's just existing. Real living starts when you decide that your future matters more than your fears. When you prioritize personal growth over your job, you start asking yourself a different kind of question. You stop asking, "What if I fail?" And you start asking, "What if I never try?" That question stings a little, because deep down, you know the truth: not trying hurts more than failing ever could. Regret is heavier than risk. Fear keeps you stuck, but regret keeps you awake at night, wondering what could have been. Every person who's ever built something meaningful faced fear. They didn't feel brave every moment. They just decided that fear wasn't going to be the one making their choices. Courage doesn't mean you don't feel afraid. Courage means you move forward even though you feel it. That's the difference between those who grow and those who stay the same. If you want to grow, you have to do things that stretch you. You have to have conversations that make you nervous. You have to learn skills that frustrate you. You have to start things that might not work right away. Growth isn't glamorous. It's often quiet and uncomfortable. But that's where your confidence is built. That's where you develop the strength to handle more, to become more, to achieve more. Fear says, "You can't handle it." Growth says, "You can learn how." And learning how is where all the power lies. When you choose growth, you're telling yourself, "I'm willing to learn what I don't know. I'm willing to fail and try again. I'm willing to get better." That mindset turns ordinary people into leaders, into creators, into examples. Many people make their job their identity. They say, "This is who I am." But what happens when that job changes? What happens when the company closes or the position ends? If your entire worth is tied to your job, you lose yourself when the job goes away. Personal growth protects you from that. When you focus on growing as a person, learning new skills, building emotional strength, improving your communication, managing your time, taking care of your health, you become someone who can succeed anywhere. You become adaptable. You become valuable, not because of your title, but because of your mindset. Fear makes you think your security comes from your job. Growth teaches you that your security comes from your ability to grow, to learn, to adapt, and to rebuild if needed. A person who grows is never truly stuck. Even when they lose something, they know they can rise again because their strength doesn't depend on what they have. It depends on who they've become. When fear tells you to stop, that's exactly the moment you should take one more step, because that step, right there, is where you break through. Most people quit one step before the change happens. They stop just before the growth begins to show. But the people who push through, the ones who say, "I'll take another step even if I'm scared," they find out that fear loses its power once you face it. You have to remember that fear fades the moment you take action. The mind calms down when the body moves. Thinking about doing something is where fear grows. Doing it is where it dies. The first time you try something new, your heart races. The second time, it feels easier. By the 10th time, it feels normal. That's how growth works. It turns the things that once scared you into things you now handle with ease. You don't have to take giant steps. You just have to take real ones. Small, consistent actions toward growth every day build a life that fear can't control. Read a book that challenges your thinking. Start a conversation with someone who inspires you. Set a goal that forces you to stretch. Wake up early and work on something that matters to you. These small choices compound into a powerful life. The truth is, most fears never come true. The worst-case scenario you imagine is usually a lot worse in your head than in real life. But even if things don't go perfectly, you'll come out stronger, smarter, and more capable. And that's what growth gives you, not a life without problems, but the strength to handle them better. Think about how it feels when you overcome something you were once afraid of. There's a quiet pride that comes with that. You walk differently. You speak with more certainty. You trust yourself more. That's what growth does. It builds belief in yourself through real experience. No one can hand that to you. You earn it by doing the hard things that fear tells you not to do. Your job might give you a paycheck, but personal growth gives you purpose. A job can end, but growth lasts a lifetime. It changes how you see yourself, how you think, how you act, and how you treat people. It makes you more aware, more capable, and more fulfilled. When you grow, everything in your life starts to grow with you. Your confidence, your relationships, your opportunities. Fear will always be there. It's not going away, but it doesn't have to lead your life. You can feel fear and still move forward. You can doubt yourself and still act. You can be nervous and still grow. The power is in choosing what matters more, your comfort or your future. And if you truly want a better life, you have to pick your future every single time. Growth is not something you find, it's something you decide. You decide to read instead of scroll. You decide to take the class instead of complain. You decide to speak up instead of stay silent. You decide to take the risk instead of wish you had. Every decision shapes who you become. When you look back one day, you won't remember the moments you played it safe. You'll remember the moments you faced fear and grew. Those are the memories that build pride and peace. Those are the moments that prove to you that you're stronger than your fears. Choosing growth when fear tells you to stop is not easy, but it's worth everything, because each time you do, you become more of the person you were meant to be. You become a person who moves with purpose, who isn't controlled by fear, who keeps growing no matter what happens. And that's a person who can build any future they want. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to choose growth one more time today, then again tomorrow. and again after that. Do that long enough, and one day fear won't recognize you anymore because you'll have grown far beyond its reach. Chapter 2. Train your mind to crave daily progress. Most people wait for motivation to appear before they take action, but that's not how growth works. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. Progress, on the other hand, is built through daily discipline, through the quiet decision to do something today that moves you even 1 inch forward. When your mind learns to crave progress, you stop depending on mood and start depending on habit. That's when change becomes consistent and real. The mind is like a muscle. If you train it to look for excuses, it will find them. If you train it to look for improvement, it will find that too. Each day, you either strengthen the habit of growth or the habit of delay. It's one or the other. Training your mind to crave daily progress means creating a new standard for yourself, one where standing still is no longer acceptable, even in small things. When you make progress a daily goal, you begin to think differently. You start noticing small wins. You start measuring success by effort, not by the size of the outcome. A few pages read, a few minutes exercised, a few ideas written, those little steps train your brain to link satisfaction with progress instead of comfort. That's how the shift happens. The more your brain associates growth with reward, the more it seeks it out naturally. At first, your mind will resist. It's used to ease. It's used to finishing work and calling the day done. But growth asks for more. It asks for reflection after effort, learning after results, and awareness after action. The mind doesn't like effort without reward, but that's exactly what builds the habit: showing up, improving slightly, and ending the day knowing you did something better than yesterday. That quiet sense of progress becomes addictive in the best way. Every morning you wake up with two voices in your head. One says, "Stay comfortable." The other says, "Do something that matters." The one you feed the most becomes stronger. If you choose the second voice often enough, it becomes automatic. Soon, your mind starts asking, "What can I improve today?" That's when you know you've trained it. You've taught it that fulfillment comes from growth, not from avoiding effort. Progress doesn't have to be huge. In fact, small, consistent progress is the most powerful kind. When you do something every day, even for 10 minutes, it rewires your mind to expect improvement. That expectation changes everything. You stop needing someone to push you. You begin to push yourself. You feel uneasy when you go a day without learning or building something. That's the mind of a person who's growing restless in comfort, alive in motion. Training your mind to crave progress means being aware of how you spend your time. The average person gives more attention to distractions than to development. Hours go to screens, not skills. Growth requires shifting that balance. Ask yourself at the end of each day, did I learn something today? Did I move forward? When the answer is yes, even in small ways, you sleep better. You rest with pride instead of guilt. That feeling fuels you to do more the next day. People who grow every day aren't special, they're intentional. They know that a strong mind doesn't appear overnight. It's built through repetition, focus, and patience. Just like exercise strengthens your body, daily progress strengthens your mindset. The more you do it, the more resilient and confident you become. You stop being afraid of starting new things because you trust your ability to improve with time. There will be days when you don't feel like doing anything. That's when training matters most. Growth isn't tested on the good days, it's tested when you feel tired, unmotivated, or uncertain. If you still choose to take one small step forward on those days, you're building something deeper than progress. You're building character. You're teaching your mind that commitment matters more than comfort. Daily progress is also about awareness. It's not just doing things, but noticing them. Recognizing your small wins gives your brain proof that you're moving forward. Write them down. Celebrate them quietly. Remind yourself that you're not where you used to be. That sense of progress builds momentum. It reminds you that growth is working even when it feels slow. Your environment matters too. If you spend time with people who don't value growth, your mind will lower its standards to match theirs. Surround yourself with people who talk about ideas, goals, and improvements. Listen to conversations that spark curiosity. Energy is contagious. Make sure the one you catch is progress, not complacency. Training your mind isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming aware of your patterns. Every time you waste a day and feel that quiet frustration, remember, it's your mind signaling that you're capable of more. Use that feeling. Don't hide from it. Channel it into something small but meaningful, an extra workout, a page of writing, a few minutes of learning. That's how you turn dissatisfaction into drive. The reason many people feel stuck is because they've linked progress to big milestones. They wait for promotions, achievements, or recognition before feeling good about themselves. But waiting for external rewards trains your brain to depend on approval. Real growth happens when you create your own approval, when you say, "I'm proud of the effort I gave today." That inner pride becomes your daily fuel. Once your mind gets used to daily growth, it becomes difficult to live without it. You'll start feeling uncomfortable when you waste time. You'll start craving challenge. You'll prefer effort over ease. That's when you know you've shifted your identity from a worker to a learner, from someone who reacts to someone who creates. Every area of your life starts improving because growth is now part of who you are, not just something you do. The real reward of progress isn't what you achieve, it's who you become through the process. You develop patience, focus, and discipline. You learn how to manage your emotions and control your attention. You build trust in yourself, and that trust becomes your foundation. You stop doubting whether you can handle the next challenge because you have proof that you've handled the ones before it. Even your job begins to change when your mindset grows. You stop waiting for opportunities and start creating them. You find ways to learn from every task, every project, every interaction. Instead of asking, "What do I get from this?" you start asking, "What can I learn from this?" That question transforms your work into a daily growth exercise. Suddenly, your job becomes a tool for personal development instead of a trap for survival. Progress builds confidence, and confidence attracts more opportunities. When people see you improving every day, they respect you. They trust your consistency. They see someone who doesn't settle. That kind of person naturally stands out in any environment. But the best part isn't what others see, it's how you feel about yourself. You begin to carry yourself with quiet certainty. You know you're on your way, and that feeling replaces fear with focus. If you want to train your mind to crave progress, start simple. Pick one area: physical health, skill development, mindset, or communication, and improve it by 1% each day. Track it. Notice it. Make it part of your routine. Once your mind experiences the satisfaction of consistent growth, it will seek that feeling on its own. You'll no longer need motivation. Progress itself will drive you. Every person has the power to change the direction of their life, but it starts in the mind. The thoughts you feed it daily become the habits you live by. Feed it progress. Feed it challenge. Feed it purpose. Over time, your mind will begin to expect growth the same way it expects air. That's when life transforms. When daily progress isn't a task, it's a need. The truth is, there's no final destination in growth. There's only today another chance to improve, to learn, to become a little better. And when you string enough of those days together, you'll look back and realize how far you've come. The secret isn't speed, it's consistency. A strong mind doesn't chase perfection. It chases progress every day, without pause, without fear, and without the need for anyone's permission.
Chapter 3. Break patterns that keep you feeling stuck. Feeling stuck is one of the hardest experiences in life because it doesn't always look dramatic from the outside. You might be doing everything right, showing up to work, paying bills, maintaining relationships, yet inside you feel like you're standing still. There's this quiet frustration that grows over time, a feeling that you're capable of more but can't seem to move forward. The truth is, being stuck isn't about circumstances, it's about patterns. The thoughts you repeat, the routines you follow, the beliefs you keep, they form invisible walls around your progress. And until you break those patterns, nothing changes. The first step to breaking patterns is awareness. Most people live on autopilot, doing the same things day after day without questioning them. They wake up at the same time, follow the same habits, think the same thoughts, and then wonder why life feels repetitive. If you keep reacting the same way, making the same choices, and avoiding the same risks, you can't expect new results. Change begins when you pause long enough to see the loop you're in. Awareness breaks the illusion that you're powerless. Once you recognize the pattern, you can begin to rewrite it. Ask yourself, what am I doing every day that keeps me where I am? It might be staying silent when you should speak up, avoiding discomfort, saying yes to things that drain you, or spending time around people who keep you small. These actions might feel safe, but they quietly build the trap you're trying to escape. Every time you repeat an unhelpful pattern, you reinforce it. The mind learns quickly. It remembers what feels familiar, even if it's unhealthy. That's why awareness is not enough. You have to replace the pattern with something better. Breaking old patterns requires discomfort. Your mind will fight to protect what it knows, even if what it knows doesn't serve you. That resistance isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's proof that you're disrupting the system. Growth always creates tension before it brings peace. The key is to sit with that tension without running back to what's easy. Every time you resist the pull of old behavior, you weaken its hold on you. If you feel stuck, it means you've outgrown your current way of thinking. You're ready for more, but your habits are holding you back. The same thoughts that got you here can't take you further. You need new inputs, new perspectives, new challenges. Read books that stretch your thinking. Spend time with people who talk about ideas instead of complaints. Try something new that intimidates you. Each small change creates cracks in the old pattern, and those cracks let the light in. One of the strongest patterns that keeps people stuck is comfort. Comfort feels good, but it's deceptive. It gives temporary peace while slowly stealing long-term growth. The longer you stay comfortable, the harder it becomes to move. That's why you must make discomfort a regular part of your life. Challenge yourself intentionally. Try things that make you feel awkward or uncertain. When you do this often enough, your mind starts to see discomfort as normal. It stops holding you back from change. Another pattern that traps people is self-doubt. It's that quiet voice that says, maybe this isn't for you, or you're not ready yet. You listen to that voice enough times, and it becomes truth. But it's not truth, it's habit. You've trained your mind to repeat those words. Breaking that pattern means challenging your own thoughts. When your mind says, I can't, you respond with, I'll learn how. When it says, I'm not ready, you act anyway. Each time you do, you teach yourself a new pattern, one of courage, not avoidance. Your environment shapes your patterns too. If you're surrounded by people who settle, complain, or make excuses, it's easy to mirror them. Humans are wired to fit in, not to stand out. but fitting in often means shrinking your potential to match your surroundings. If you want to grow, you have to step into new environments that demand more from you. Be around people who challenge your standards, who expect growth, who talk about possibilities. Their mindset will begin to rub off on you. It's also important to look at the emotional patterns that hold you. Maybe you always respond to criticism with defensiveness, or you avoid conflict because it feels uncomfortable. These patterns protect your ego, but they stop your growth. When you notice yourself reacting the same way again and again, pause, ask, is this reaction helping me grow or keeping me stuck? That pause gives you power. It interrupts the automatic response and allows you to choose a better one. Sometimes the pattern that keeps you stuck is not action, but inaction. Waiting for the right time, waiting for motivation, waiting for clarity. These are all forms of delay disguised as preparation. You break this pattern by deciding that action itself brings clarity. You learn faster by doing than by overthinking. Start small. Take one concrete step in the direction you've been avoiding. Once you move, momentum builds. The hardest part of any change is the first push. Breaking patterns doesn't mean rejecting everything you've done before. It means separating what's serving you from what's not. Some routines give structure and stability. Others quietly drain your energy. Review your habits with honesty. Ask yourself what adds value and what keeps you stagnant. You'll be surprised at how many things you do out of repetition, not intention. Replace one unhelpful habit at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself. Real change happens gradually, but it lasts because it's built on awareness, not impulse. Growth requires permission. Permission to start over, to think differently, to redefine yourself. Most people stay stuck because they're afraid of being judged for changing. They worry about how others will react if they begin to act differently. But remember, you don't owe anyone the version of you that keeps you small. You have the right to evolve. You have the right to choose new standards. The people meant for your future will support your growth, not your comfort zone. The human brain loves patterns because they create safety. Predictability feels secure, but too much predictability kills passion. Life becomes dull, repetitive, predictable. That's why we need variety. Trying new experiences wakes the brain up. It forces it to adapt and learn. Even simple things, taking a new route to work, trying a new hobby, talking to someone new, send signals to your brain that life is still expanding. That expansion restores your energy and motivation. If you want to stop feeling stuck, stop telling yourself the same story. The story you repeat becomes your identity. If your story is "I'm unlucky" or "I'm not good at change," your mind will look for evidence to support it. Change the story. Tell yourself, "I'm learning to adapt," or "I'm capable of more than I've shown." The story you tell shapes the reality you live. Speak progress into your life until your actions start to reflect it. You'll know you're breaking patterns when things start to feel unfamiliar. That's a good sign. It means you're moving beyond what's comfortable. At first, it feels unstable, even scary, but that's exactly how growth begins. Not with excitement, but with uncertainty. Stay with that feeling. It's the space between who you were and who you're becoming. Most people quit there because they mistake discomfort for failure. It's not failure, it's transformation in progress. Over time, new patterns replace the old ones. Your thoughts become clearer, your choices stronger, your actions more deliberate. You start noticing that you no longer tolerate things that drain you. You make decisions faster. You say no more often. You create space for new opportunities. And that's when you realize you're not stuck anymore. You've simply outgrown the life that matched your old habit. Breaking patterns isn't about fixing yourself. It's about freeing yourself. You're not broken. You've just been repeating what's familiar. The moment you choose something different, you begin to rewrite your future. Every time you act with awareness instead of impulse, you reclaim control over your life. That control gives you power, confidence, and peace. You don't have to change everything today. You just have to start noticing. Every pattern you break makes room for something better. Every time you say, "This ends with me," you're choosing growth. You're proving to yourself that you don't have to live by yesterday's rules. You can learn, adapt, and move forward, one new choice at a time. That's how real transformation begins. Not in big leaps, but in the quiet, powerful decision to stop living the same day over and over again.
Chapter 4. Build self-respect through small daily wins. Self-respect is not built overnight. It grows through the quiet victories that no one sees. The small promises you keep to yourself, the decisions you make when no one is watching, the moments you choose growth over comfort. Every time you follow through on something you said you would do, you add another layer to your self-respect. You begin to trust yourself more. You start believing your own words again. The person who can trust themselves is unstoppable. The problem is that most people wait for big achievements to feel proud. They want the promotion, the recognition, the applause. But real self-respect doesn't come from those things. It comes from doing the small, unglamorous tasks that build discipline. When you wake up early instead of sleeping in, when you complete the workout even though you're tired, when you sit down to learn instead of scrolling through your phone, those are the wins that build the foundation of confidence. The human mind remembers effort. It knows when you're avoiding what matters. It also knows when you show up. Each time you take action that aligns with your values, you strengthen the connection between who you want to be and who you actually are. That alignment creates self-respect. When your actions match your intentions, you start walking taller. You stop seeking validation because your sense of worth is coming from within. Small daily wins don't look exciting, but they compound quietly. Think about it. Brushing your teeth doesn't feel like an achievement, but doing it every day keeps your health intact. In the same way, small acts of discipline keep your character intact. If you treat yourself with respect in small choices, you naturally begin to expect more from yourself in bigger areas. The little things teach your brain that you can rely on you. People lose self-respect when they stop keeping promises to themselves. They say they'll start eating better, but don't. They say they'll read more, but never open the book. Each time they break a promise, they chip away at their self-trust. It's not the size of the promise that matters. It's the consistency of keeping it. When your word stops meaning something to you, confidence fades. To rebuild that trust, you have to start small again and prove yourself right, one action at a time. You can't build self-respect through pretending. You build it through effort. It's the satisfaction of finishing what you started, even when you didn't feel like it. It's showing up on the hard days, not just the easy ones. The smallest actions, making your bed, organizing your space, finishing a task, train your mind to complete things. Completion builds momentum, and momentum builds pride. There's something powerful about winning small battles daily. You begin to notice that your standards rise naturally. You stop tolerating laziness from yourself. You stop blaming luck or circumstance. You take ownership. Each small win sends a message to your brain. I'm capable. That message becomes your belief, and belief shapes everything. Your posture, your choices, your direction. Small daily wins also remind you that progress doesn't require perfection. You don't need to change everything at once. You just need to do one thing right each day. Drink more water. Go for a walk. Study for 20 minutes. Have a meaningful conversation. Write down your goals. Each win is a step forward. The power lies in accumulation. 10 days of consistency change how you feel about yourself, more than 10 bursts of motivation. Your relationship with yourself is built the same way you build trust with anyone else,
through honesty and follow through. When you tell a friend you'll meet them and you show up, they trust you more. When you do the same for yourself, your confidence grows. Every time you complete a small win, you strengthen the bond with your own mind. That's the kind of confidence no one can give or take away from you. Many people underestimate the emotional effect of small wins. Completing even the simplest task releases satisfaction in the brain. It's proof that effort brings reward. The more often you experience that, the more your brain begins to crave it. You start to enjoy the process of progress. You stop waiting for motivation, because the results of consistency become the motivation. That's how a cycle of growth begins, from a single small win. If you've ever felt like you've lost respect for yourself, you can start rebuilding it today. Don't try to fix everything. Pick one small habit and commit to it daily. It could be waking up 10 minutes earlier, writing a page a day, or avoiding negative self-talk. Stick with it for a week. Notice how you feel when you keep that commitment. That feeling is the start of self-respect coming back. It's the quiet realization that you're capable of discipline again. It's easy to forget that self-respect has nothing to do with achievements others can see. It's personal. No one needs to clap for you. You know the difference between effort and avoidance. You know when you're being honest with yourself. That private sense of integrity. That's where true strength lives. You don't have to announce your progress. Your actions will do it for you. Building self-respect also means forgiving yourself for the times you fail. Growth doesn't mean being perfect. It means not giving up when you fall short. If you miss a day, don't turn it into a story of failure. Just begin again the next day. That's how mature self-respect works. Not through punishment, but through responsibility. You take ownership, you correct course, and you continue. Over time, small wins begin to shape your identity. You stop calling yourself lazy, because you have proof you're not. You stop calling yourself inconsistent, because you're no longer quitting. You stop doubting your ability to grow, because you've seen yourself follow through. Your words start to match your actions, and that alignment creates inner peace. When you build self-respect through daily wins, you also gain clarity. You start to know what matters to you. You stop saying yes to things that don't align with your values. You stop chasing approval, because your worth no longer depends on what others think. You begin to respect your time, your boundaries, and your energy. And once you respect yourself, other people begin to respect you too. Not because you demand it, but because you embody it. Self-respect changes how you walk into every room. It changes how you speak, how you handle challenges, and how you recover from setbacks. It's the quiet confidence that says, I can handle this, because I trust myself. You can't fake that kind of confidence. It comes from showing up for yourself over and over again, until it becomes your nature. There's no shortcut to building it. You have to earn it. Every morning is another chance to do that. Start the day by completing something simple. Make your bed, organize your space, drink water, move your body. Those small actions tell your brain, we're starting strong. The rest of your day follows that pattern. Win the morning, and you set a tone of discipline and pride that carries through the hours. No one is too busy to build self-respect. It doesn't take hours. It takes intention. You can do something meaningful in 5 minutes if you commit to it fully. What matters is consistency, not scale. You don't need to prove yourself to the world. You just need to keep proving to yourself that you're growing, that you're showing up, that you're becoming the kind of person you promised to be. In the end, small daily wins do something powerful. They make you proud of yourself again. Not proud because you're perfect, but because you're trying with honesty. That kind of pride is different from ego. It's grounded, calm, and steady. It stays with you even when life gets hard, because it's built on the truth of your own effort. The goal isn't to be better than anyone else. The goal is to be better than the version of you, quit easily, doubted too often, or waited for permission. Each small win proves that you're growing stronger than that version. Over time, that strength turns into unshakable self-respect, the kind that doesn't fade when challenges come, the kind that stands tall even when no one's clapping. That's the quiet power of small daily wins. They build the kind of confidence that lasts a lifetime.
Chapter 5. Learn to outgrow environments that limit you. There comes a time in life when you start to feel that the place you're in no longer matches the person you're becoming. It could be your workplace, your social circle, or even the daily routines you've outgrown. At first, it's just a quiet discomfort, a sense that something doesn't fit anymore, but the longer you ignore it, the heavier it feels. Growth has a way of making old spaces feel smaller. When your environment stops supporting your evolution, you begin to feel trapped. Learning to outgrow environments that limit you is not about rejecting people or places. It's about honoring your need to keep expanding. Most people stay in limiting environments because they fear loss. They're afraid of leaving comfort, security, or approval behind. But comfort without growth eventually turns into quiet frustration. You can't evolve while staying attached to things that keep you the same. Every time you choose to stay small to fit in, you trade a piece of your potential for temporary peace. Growth requires honesty, and honesty sometimes tells you, this is no longer where you belong. When you outgrow an environment, it doesn't mean it was bad. It simply means it served its purpose. Maybe it taught you discipline, resilience, or clarity. But every stage of growth has an expiration date. Staying beyond that point drains you instead of building you. Life's seasons are meant to change. The key is learning to recognize when one has ended and having the courage to move forward even when it's uncomfortable. Environments shape identity. If you spend your days around people who avoid challenge, complain about everything, or settle for less, you slowly start to absorb those patterns. It's human nature to adapt to the energy around you. That's why being aware of your environment is crucial. You can have the best intentions in the world, but if you're surrounded by limitations, you'll find it hard to grow beyond them. Growth requires space, mental, emotional, and sometimes physical. You can tell an environment is limiting you when you start doubting yourself more than you used to. You start feeling guilty for wanting more. You hesitate to share your dreams because you know they'll be met with skepticism or small thinking. These are signs that your surroundings are not feeding your growth anymore. Instead of inspiring you, they keep you contained. You don't need to feel angry about it. You just need to pay attention. Awareness is the beginning of freedom. Outgrowing an environment often means outgrowing a version of yourself. The habits that once worked for you might no longer be enough. The people who once understood you might no longer connect with your direction. That's not betrayal. That's evolution. It takes emotional maturity to accept that moving forward doesn't mean rejecting anyone. It simply means you're choosing alignment over familiarity. When you stay too long in an environment that limits you, it starts affecting your mindset. You begin to normalize mediocrity. You stop expecting more from yourself. You adjust your goals to match what's convenient instead of what's possible. That's how potential dies, not through failure, but through comfort. To grow, you have to raise your standards, even when the people around you are content with less. The hardest part about leaving limiting environments is the emotional pull of belonging. Humans crave connection, and walking away from familiar people or places can feel lonely. But that loneliness is temporary. It's the space between where you were and where you're headed. If you can sit with that space without rushing back to comfort, you'll discover something powerful, your own voice. You'll begin to hear your thoughts more clearly, and that clarity will lead you toward better opportunities and relationships. Outgrowing environments also means learning how to handle guilt. Sometimes the people you care about won't understand your need for growth. They might take it personally. They might say you've changed, and they'll be right. But changing isn't a crime. Staying the same when you know you can do more, that's the real loss. You owe it to yourself to evolve,
even if it means walking alone for a while. The right people will meet you at your next level. Growth doesn't always require dramatic exits. Sometimes it's a quiet shift. You stop engaging in gossip. You spend less time on distractions. You start saying no to things that don't align with your goals. Slowly, your environment begins to adjust to the new version of you. You don't need to announce your evolution. You just need to live it. Over time, what no longer fits will naturally fall away. Outgrowing an environment can also happen inside your job. You might find that the work that once challenged you now feels repetitive. You might crave more impact, more creativity, or more learning. That's a sign your growth has surpassed your current situation. Many people ignore that signal because they fear instability. But what's truly unstable is staying in a role that doesn't stretch you anymore. You can't expand in a space that rewards staying the same. Sometimes the environment that limits you isn't external. It's the mental space you live in. The thoughts you repeat, the excuses you justify, the beliefs you cling to, they create invisible walls. You can change your surroundings all you want, but if your mindset remains the same, you'll recreate those limits wherever you go. Outgrowing environment starts with outgrowing the mental patterns that keep you small. Challenge your own assumptions. Question the beliefs that tell you this is all there is. That's where transformation truly begins. If you want to grow beyond your current environment, start by expanding your exposure. Read new ideas, listen to different perspectives, and meet people who live at the level you want to reach. Exposure changes perception. When you see what's possible, your mind refuses to go back to small thinking. You begin to expect more from life, and that expectation pushes you toward environments that can sustain your growth. You also have to recognize that some environments grow toxic, not because they're inherently bad, but because you've outgrown their rhythm. What once energized you now drains you. The conversations that once inspired you now feel repetitive. The goals that once felt big now feel basic. This is your growth trying to tell you it's time to move. Don't ignore that message. If you do, frustration will keep building until it turns into burnout. Leaving a limiting environment isn't about running away. It's about running toward your potential. There's a difference between escaping and evolving. Escaping means avoiding problems. Evolving means choosing growth despite discomfort. You're not abandoning your past. You're building on it. Everything you've experienced has prepared you for the next level, but you have to be willing to step into it. The people who grow the most in life are the ones who are brave enough to say, I don't belong here anymore. They don't wait for approval. They don't need everyone to understand. They listen to that quiet inner voice that says, there's more for me. That voice is your instinct for growth. Ignoring it is one of the greatest causes of regret. Listening to it is one of the purest forms of self-respect. You'll know you've found a growth-supportive environment when you feel inspired instead of drained. You'll notice that conversations lift you, not limit you. You'll feel encouraged to dream bigger instead of being told to stay realistic. You'll be around people who celebrate your improvement instead of feeling threatened by it. That kind of environment doesn't just change your career, it changes your entire sense of possibility. The journey of outgrowing environments never ends. As you continue to evolve, you'll keep reaching points where you need more challenge, more learning, more depth. Instead of fearing that process, start welcoming it. It means you're alive. It means you're expanding. It means you're refusing to settle for less than your potential. Growth doesn't ask for permission. It asks for courage. When you look back years from now, you'll see that every time you outgrew a limiting environment, it was a turning point. Each time you chose to walk away from what no longer served you, life opened new doors. What once felt like loss will feel like liberation. You'll realize that the courage to move forward was the greatest gift you ever gave yourself. The moment you start to feel like you're shrinking to stay in a place, remember this: you weren't meant to fit forever. You were meant to evolve continuously. Growth will always demand more space, more challenge, more honesty. So when life whispers that you've outgrown something, listen carefully. That's not a sign of failure. It's a sign that your next chapter is waiting.
Chapter 6.
Put your peace before your job pressure. There comes a point where the constant noise of deadlines, messages, and meetings starts to take something valuable from you, your peace. You may not notice it at first because it happens quietly. You wake up thinking about unfinished tasks, you eat with your mind still at work, and you go to bed carrying the weight of things that don't belong in your dreams. Slowly, your peace becomes the price you pay for your job. But no job, no matter how successful, is worth your inner calm. Peace is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Without it, success loses its meaning. People often confuse busyness with productivity. They believe that the more they do, the more valuable they are. But that mindset creates exhaustion, not excellence. A tired mind makes poor decisions. A restless heart can't create meaningful work. Peace isn't the absence of responsibility, it's the presence of balance. It's knowing when to work hard and when to step back. It's learning to be fully present where you are instead of being everywhere mentally. Putting your peace before your job pressure doesn't mean you stop caring about your work. It means you stop letting your work control your life. You can be ambitious and peaceful at the same time. In fact, the people who achieve the most over time are the ones who protect their energy. They understand that you can't pour from an empty cup. If you constantly drain yourself to meet expectations, eventually there's nothing left to give. Peace begins with boundaries. Without them, everything becomes urgent, and you lose control of your time. Set limits on how much of yourself you give to your job. Don't check work messages at every